truth is that thanks to God's mercy, that we can reach out to more people through this uh, technology where they are in their homes. It is a privilege to be here. I'm going to take advantage to give a little announcement. Yesterday, the book was published. It is a biographical outlines in Spanish. Is the outline of the journey that the Lord has allowed me to live from almost being aborted and several almost. The title is almost how the Lord redeems person who is an average person like all of us. And I mentioned this because I was preparing myself for this presentation. I received my personal copies, and as I was reading it over, I was thinking what a blessing it is that the Lord allows us to allows all of us, each one of us, in the midst of our limitations, in the midst of our poverty, oppression, in the midst of many circumstances where we are considered uh, uh, downtrodden, but the love of God raises all of us. So, what a privilege it is to be your brother, your contemporary, and now to bring to you a little bit of the experience that the Lord has given to us in this journey.
Translating in English. I'm going to try to speak slowly, but if you feel that I am doing too fast, please let me know through the chat. Merci, Jacques, Ernst Jacques, merci pour la traduction. Merci beaucoup. Cuando hablamos del concepto de
When we speak about a team as a concept, somebody asked me, why did we make the connection team and succession when there are two separate subjects and the specialists in leadership? They write and they've written several pieces, academic pieces about teams and about succession, and present both of them together is important because the model that we have that have carried us up to now to have a church up until now is precisely Christ's model, a model that had two elements amongst other things, two connected elements, two elements that are interwoven. One was that Jesus, our model, our boss, our pattern, the figure which we want to be like, the person of Jesus, the model, the establishment of the kingdom working by teams. He didn't do it. He didn't do it by himself. The sovereign, incarnated God, he could have, with all his power, being all powerful, omniscient, he could have, with all his power, established the kingdom, the church, without the need to use fragile vessels like the disciples he used. He could have done it, but he chose not to do it. He chose not to do it to teach us that alone, alone we can get there faster, but together we can go farther. So to teach us that the kingdom of heaven is not an individual kingdom, it's a collective kingdom, and therefore it can be reached only by uh, teamwork. It is a team. It is up to the team, within the team that Jesus formed. that within that team of fragile vessels, these inversatile people without capacities, they were born being amongst the lowest people, how he was able to form people out of ordinary people. He formed an extraordinary team so that later on, those same religious people in during the time of the apostles, they would say, who are these who are revolving the world? They put the world upside down. Christ model is not doesn't only teach us that working together we can get farther. Working alone we can get there faster, but we don't go far. Jesus' model says that working together we can go so far that even 2,000 years later, 2,000 years later, the church that he established, the church that he said, I am going to edify my church, me, not you, your church. He said, I, Christ, I will build my church. It is Christ church. That church continues going farther and farther thanks to the work, the teamwork. The second connected element of this concept is to get is that out of the team that is where the succession comes. The original model, the ideal model, organic model, is that the best seed comes uh, from the same harvest. My grandpa taught me with my grandpa that you see the machete in the background. It's just a my grandpa, he was a farmer, and he would plant the corn, and out of the same harvest that he had collected he would select from the same harvest, he would select the best kernel, the best seed, and then he would use that for the same harvest. So this connected principle that I would like to share with you today, and then the same in the next few hours, and I hope that we won't use the half of the hours that I was given, but we do it, that's fine. This connected element is that the teamwork is essential for the establishment, the continual, the sustainability of God's kingdom. And because out of the team is for the leaders that shape the teams, from out of there is where they will use the people that will take over the next generation, the next generation of leaders.
There is a request. My apologies. They're asking for English translation. Is Angel here?
Yes, sir.
Apparently, the English translation is not working. The French translation is working. I see Jacques doing the translation. Hermanos, me dicen que
Mine is working.
English
okay.
translation is working.
Just go, those who are English speakers, please go to the bottom and it says interpretation. Click where it says interpretation, and there you choose English, please. Thank you. Ese fue nada más un pequeño anuncio.
That was just a quick advertisement, just like in my town's church. So out of the same team, the kingdom, the kingdom model is that out of the same team that we establish is where we are going to find the successors. So why have we put these together as a connecting element? Because essentials in the development of leaders is these two elements. First one is an effective leader in God's kingdom, an effective mentor, starts developing teams from the beginning. The first thing that Jesus did, the first thing that Jesus did immediately after coming back, after he came back from the desert, after being tempted and the establishment of the kingdom, the first thing that he did is to call his disciples, to put together the team. That was the first thing that he did. And the last thing that he did is to delegate upon them individually and collectively the the elements of the kingdom. Peter, he said, feed my sheep, not your sheep, my sheep. The kingdom is mine. Individually with Peter, Peter, feed my sheep. With the collective, all power has been given to me. So therefore, go and make disciples, teaching all the things that you've learned from me. Succession. So that is to say, in the next hours, we are going to find the importance of teamwork, because teamwork will guarantee us results, effective results, long term, in depth, and also wide. And through teams, we can guarantee that out of the teams, we will find the leaders for the next generations. So the first thing that we're going to measure, if you, brother and sister, if you're working alone, you have not found the organic model of the church. Therefore, you have not found the organic development of leaders, because you have to do it in as a team. Secondly, if in your district, if in your community, if in your field, if in your region, there is not a foundation of leaders upon which you can find every time there is a vacancy, there is a vacancy of a pastor or a vacancy in a leadership position in the youth, or if there's a vacancy in the district or board, or you get the idea. If every time you have problems, you find natural leaders that come out of there, we failed in two things. We failed in the establishment of teams of high efficacy in the kingdom. Therefore, we cannot find the seed, so that we have a problem of development of the church, and we have a problem of development of the leadership, because we don't have the ability to harvest leaders from our own harvest. So I want to start the presentation now. Let's see if the system can allow me to share. The subject that I was asked to share is team leadership and succession. If there is a question, I would please. The idea here is not for you to say, wow, that's a really good presentation.
Great presentation. No, nosotros no vivimos de eso.
That's not our purpose. An efficient leader lives out of the result, the product. A mentor lives the results of the mentors. Jesus said this: the student must go beyond the teacher. So we don't want people to say, wow, that was a great presentation. You know what I want you to say? I want you to say, I have a question.
Esto no está claro.
This is not clear.
Tenemos algunas dudas.
We have
Y
some
ustedes desarrollan los
doubts,
conceptos.
and you can
Yo
challenge the
estoy
concepts.
presentándoles a ustedes
I am
conceptos
presenting to you concepts that
comprobados
have been
académicamente,
proven academically,
comprobados
they've
teológicamente,
been
pero
proven
pueden
theologically,
ser sujetos de
but they
cuestionamiento.
are subject to questioning
De manera tal que cuando ustedes
in
los
such a way
presenten,
that when you present them,
no deben
you
presentarlos como dogmas,
you should not present them
sino
as
conceptos.
dogma, but also as concepts
Para ilustrar el concepto de la eficacia de
to
la
illustrate the
liderazgo,
concept of efficiency
de cómo el
as to
liderazgo del equipo
how
nos
team
ayuda en la
leadership help us
sucesión, para
in the
continuar.
succession and leadership
Vamos a estudiar
succession.
juntos el
We are
caso
going to study
de Nehemías.
Nehemiah's case.
El, el libro de Nehemías, y
The book of
ustedes,
Nehemiah,
yo
and
recuerdo que estuve viajando con el doctor
I
Sáenz y
believe
él
that
tiene un
I
mensaje muy
travel
lindo sobre
with
la,
Dr. Science.
sobre
He has a
Nehemías,
beautiful
y
message about
aprovechando la
Nehemiah
ocasión,
and
no voy a meterme a eso,
taking
sino
advantage of the occasion. I'm not going to
Carlos,
go
Carlos
into
Sáenz,
that sermon, Dr. Carlos Science,
él nos llevó sobre
but he
la vida de
took us
Nehemías. Yo les
from
voy a hablar sobre
Nehemiah's
Nehemías en función de cómo
life. I'm
Nehemías
going to walk you through Nehemiah's
desarrolló
life and as to how
desarrolló el equipo a partir de
Nehemiah's
una visión
develop a team
y cómo él entregó la batuta
starting with the starting point of
cuando
a
la visión
vision and how he passed the
continúa
baton
y la
once the vision
misión
was
continúa.
fulfilled and the mission was continuing.
Empieza todo en el
It all
capítulo
starts
1, versículos del
in
4 al 11. Ustedes saben la historia,
chapter
no
1,
vamos
verse 4 and
a
11.
leer el
You know the
libro de
story.
Nehemías
I'm not
porque
going
ya
to
todos
read
ustedes acá
the book of Nehemiah. I
ya
believe that
pasaron
all of
escuela.
you
Así
have
que
gone through
les voy
Sunday
a
school.
contar en el
So
versículo 4 al 11 nosotros
I'm
encontramos
going to
el
tell you
inicio. Alguien le
verses 4
cuenta
to
a
11.
Nehemías.
Somebody tells Nehemiah
Alguien le cuenta a Nehemías que la cosa no andaba bien
that things were not
allá
going
en
well
su Jerusalén.
in his
Y le
Jerusalem.
contó que los muros estaban destruidos.
They told him that the
Es decir,
walls
le contó
were
que había una
destroyed.
situación difícil que
In
estaban
other
pasando.
words, they told him that there was this difficult situation they were going through.
Todo, todo proceso de desarrollo de líderes
Any
y
um,
de
leadership
continuación
development process and continuation of
empieza
God's kingdom
con la
begins
revelación
with a
de una
statement
meta,
of a
de
goal,
un problema o de
a
una visión.
problem, or a vision.
Y entonces ahora,
So now,
en el versículo 4 dice,
in verse
cuando
4,
escuché que me contaron lo que
when I
había pasado,
heard
dice,
what
me
they
senté a
were
llorar
telling me, I sat
y
down and
durante
cried.
varios días me puse en
For
pie.
many days I was in
Ayuné y oré
mourning,
al Dios de
I
los cielos y
fasted,
le dije,
I
Señor,
prayed to the God of heaven, and I
en
said,
otras
Lord,
palabras,
in other words,
te ruego que prestes
I
atención a las
beg you
súplicas
that
de tu
you pay
siervo
attention
David.
to the cry from your
Yo sé que hay
servant.
problemas, yo sé
I
que tu
know
pueblo
there
te
are
ha
problems.
desobedecido,
I know that your people has
pero,
disobeyed you.
Señor,
But Lord,
tú nos has dado una promesa
you've given us
y
a
en base a
promise.
esa promesa,
And
Señor,
based on that promise,
somos tu pueblo,
we are
somos tus
your
hijos.
people. We are
Yo te
your
ruego,
servants.
versículo 11,
I beg you. In verse
presta
11,
atención a estas
let your ear
súplicas
be attentive to the
conforme
prayer of your servant
de
and to the prayer of your
concédeme,
servants who delight
concédeme
in
esta visión
revering your
y
name.
házmelo realidad.
Give your servant
Es
success
decir,
today by
que
granting
todo
him
empezó,
favor.
oigan,
So all this
todo
started
proyecto,
every
todo proyecto de
project,
liderazgo
every leadership
empieza
project
con una
begins
visión
with a vision,
enfocada,
a fixed focus,
con una visión enfocada y
a fixed focus
enmarcada
and
en
that
la
is framed
pasión
by a
por el reino de
passion
Dios.
about God's
Es la
kingdom.
pasión
It's a
por la gloria
passion
de Dios. Es
by
la pasión por la
uh,
obra de Dios.
God's people for God's work.
Si usted empieza su trabajo
If you begin your
solamente
work
porque
just
le dieron
simply
un
because
encargo,
they gave you a responsibility,
entonces discúlpeme,
then I'm sorry,
pero usted no
but
puede empezar armando un
you
equipo
cannot start
en
putting
base
together
a
a
un
team
encargo. ¿Saben qué quiere
based
decir
on a
encargo? Es
job
un
description.
documento de trabajo.
The in Spanish job description is the
Porque
masculine of burden.
algunos dicen
It's
que
a
es un
work
encargo, no, es un
wordplay.
encargo, que en
It's a
realidad
charge in
es
a
que cuando
way.
le ponen,
It's
cuando le
a
ponen a la
burden.
al animal le ponen una
It
carga.
all it seems like it's
¿Sabe
a
usted que
when
el
you put a
privilegio
burden,
de
a
servir,
load on
el
a
privilegio de servir
animal. You know, the
está
privilege of
formado
serving
por la
is
pasión
framed by the
que Dios le ha
passion
dado a
that God
usted
has given
por
to
aquella
you
causa
for
que
those and for
cuál
that
es la causa
cause
del reino
connected to the kingdom. What is the vision that is connected in the kingdom? What is the passion that the Lord has placed in you? Because in the same measure that you have a clarity, vision, and clarity of purpose, then you will have depth in passion. I will repeat this again. In the same measure that you have clarity of vision and clarity of purpose, you will have depth in passion. And when you have passion, a deep passion, it is very hard that they will take you out of there. But when you have a vision, that a limited vision or blurred, and when you have a purpose that is not so well defined, then your passion is just like at the skin surface. So when your passion is only at the skin surface, anything will shift you. That's why we have so many leaders that move from project to project to project, from charge to charge to charge, from passion to passion. Why? Because their vision is not focused. Here's where this broke his heart so much. The the news that he received to the Nehemiah's from his people, that he goes before the Lord and he asks for his vision to be focused. Now he once his vision is focused, he did not let his emotions to drive him. We live in a time, in such a time, and during the pandemic, we live in a time that people tell us every single thing, and we believe those. We believe it, and when we believe it, we develop passion, and sometimes we develop passions for things that are senseless, they're meaningless, and they have no value in the kingdom. Yeah, we have passion. I've heard people, I've seen people on Facebook. I don't have Facebook, but I people have shown me. I've seen in social media. I've seen some of the most inverosimil battles, the ridiculous battles, the people who are passionate because they have a deep passion, deep vision, but it's not rooted in God's will. So, what is the first thing that a leader does when they have a passion? The passion, listen to me, the passion, the vision, the purpose must be tempered, must be moderated, must be verified by the facts, by the testimony. There are times when we need science verification. There are times when we need statistic verification. Sometimes we need God's promise verification in the miracles that He has done. We need that is called testimony. So vision, purpose, that passion. Now see what Jeremiah does in chapter 2, verse 11. It says, so so he went to Jerusalem, and it says that 3 days after staying in Jerusalem, I set out during the night with a few others. I had not told anyone what my God had put in my heart to do for Jerusalem. There were no mounts with me except the one I was riding on. By night, I went out through the valley gate toward the jackal well and the dung gate, examining the walls of Jerusalem, which had been broken down, and its gates, which had been destroyed by fire. Verse 14, he did the same. 16, he did the same. He verified the situation. So, with that verified listen, you have a clear vision, you have a clear purpose, you have a clear passion, and you say, well, this is not because I ate a taco that maybe had food poisoning or something. This vision is not because I had a an expired pizza. It's not because I had a nightmare. No, this happened because the Spirit of God. Remember that everything started because a human said to this man, "Hey, this is what's going on." So he goes before the Lord. He speaks with the Lord and says, "Lord, grant me this." But he has to go and verify. Because, brothers and sisters, let me tell you that unfortunately in our Latin America, even today, even with COVID, we have brothers and sisters who are fighting battles and they have no idea what they're talking about. There are some that say that COVID is a lie. Imagine if it's a lie. If in December we buried my sister and my sister-in-law, how could that be a lie? And we speak about these things and we fight and we brothers and sisters, if you have a passion, a vision, verified with the facts that you have around you. Now, this is the beginning. Now, what are you? You may say, what does this have to do with teams? Because the next step is the formation of a team. Brothers and sisters, you cannot go and put together a team. In Guatemala, we say, uh, in this like street game, there's the little lads, just these kids, children, when they play this on the street, and they say, "Okay, let's come together and just play on the street." And then when you have the team, says, "What are we gonna play?" "Oh, I don't know." Imagine that. Imagine if you go, you put together all these the band of kids, and let's put together a team, and they say, "What are we gonna play?" "I don't know." "Let's play football." Where's the ball?" "I don't know. I don't have it." What I spoke to you are the elements, those elements that you need to prepare a team. Before putting together a team, you must have clarity and vision given by the Lord, a clarity of mission that gives you passion, and then you have to verify, because then you're not alone. Then you put together the team, and the Lord help us and deliver us. That if you have the correct passion, that if you have the uh, incorrect vision, and you put together a team, you know that you are going to take everybody to the abyss. That's why it is important to have passion, purpose, vision, and verification prior to putting together the team, because then you put together the team and see what happens. Verse 12, it says, accompanied by many men. It is important. You'll see down the road in later on in Nehemiah's life, he who knew the vision, he who had the passion, he who knew the call was the leader, Nehemiah. But he knew that alone he could not achieve it. So what he did is that he recruited leaders to put together teams to penetrate, to to pass a clear vision to them. He made them part of his vision. He made them part of his passion. He made them part of his project. He took them with him. So at this time, they didn't know. There's a important principle here. When you put together a team, you are not putting together a team so that you can pour your ideas into their heads. You are putting together a team so that they can be they can get the vision just like you see it. You are not forming a team. You are not putting together a team so that you can force your ideas upon them. when we have
Brother Jose, can you
questions.
write the question on the chat? I saw you raising your hand. El Señor formó el equipo, Nehemías formó
The, the Lord put
para que
together a
pudieran ver
team
con él,
so that they could see
con él
with them, so
la
they
situación.
could uh, see the
Por eso es que
situation.
el siguiente paso
That's why the next step
fue que él compartió
is
la
that
visión.
he cast the vision. He shared the vision with
Él
them.
compartió la visión con ellos
He shared the
porque
vision
ya
with
entonces
them
él está diciendo,
because
dice en el
then
versículo
he's
16,
saying to them, verse
y
16
oigan versículo
and
17.
later 17.
Cuando regresé les dije,
Then I said to them,
ya vieron lo mal que estamos.
you see the trouble we're in.
Jerusalén está
Jerusalem
destruida
lies in
y todas
ruins,
sus puertas
and its
han sido
gates
quemadas.
have been burned with fire.
Anímense,
Come,
vayamos
let us, all
a
of us,
levantar las
rebuild
murallas
the
de
wall of
Jerusalén.
Jerusalem,
Basta ya
and
de
we will
desgracia.
no longer be in disgrace.
En cuanto les conté la gran
I
ayuda
also told them
de
about the
Jehová
gracious hand
sobre el
of my
rey,
God on
todos
me
dijeron,
and what the king said to
sí,
me. They replied, yes,
comencemos
let us
a
start
reconstruir
rebuilding.
las murallas. Una vez el equipo está
Once
formado,
the
lo
team is
primero
put
es
together, the first thing is to share the vision,
el éxito de
the,
una misión,
the success of a mission,
el éxito de una
the
empresa,
success of an
el
enterprise,
éxito de un
the
proyecto,
success of
el
a project,
éxito de
the
una
success
iniciativa, el
of an
éxito de una
initiative,
iglesia.
the
El
success of a
su
church,
visión
the
se da
success of a mission
la visión que usted le
is
dio a sus
given
hombres.
in the
Usted
same
tiene la
measure
capacidad de
that
compartirlo
you
con
are
el
able to
equipo
share the
para
vision that the Lord gave to
los
you
miembros del equipo
in such a way that the team's members will absorb that vision.
la reciben
They will receive it
y se dueñan
and
de esa visión.
they own that vision.
Miren qué lindo cuando ellos dijeron,
Uh, Beautiful. It's beautiful when they
sí,
said, "Yes,
comencemos.
let us start rebuilding."
Hay un plural aquí.
There's a plural.
No le dicen, no le
He didn't
dicen
he didn't they didn't say to
mira, pues
Nehemiah,
qué buena onda,
well,
pues
look, how cool. Yeah,
bueno,
sure,
ya
go
que
ahead and do
vienes de
it. Well,
Persia,
since
ya que
you're
vienes
coming from
con
Persia
dinero de
with
Persia,
money
ya
from
que
Persia,
tienes ahí, tienes
since you
contactos
have
con el rey,
contacts with the
y ahí
king,
tienes tus
since
conexiones
you
con
have
él,
your connections there,
tráete un par de equipos de
well,
allá de
bring a
Persia.
couple teams from
No,
Persia and you guys do it. No, what they said
este,
was,
este es nuestro
wow,
problema.
this is our problem.
Esta es nuestra
This
iglesia.
is our church.
Este es nuestro
This is
distrito.
our district.
Esta es nuestra
This is
región.
our region.
Y miren las paredes.
And look at the
¿Y sabe por
walls.
qué fue
And you know
importante
why
compartir
that
la
is
visión?
important. It is important to share the
Porque a
vision
veces, amados hermanos,
because many times,
nosotros
my brothers and
tratamos en
sisters,
culturas
we
insensibles,
walk
insensibles,
in
en donde la gente
cultures
se
that are
acostumbra
insensitive, and the
a la
people
podredumbre
they get used to being in
y les parece normal.
rotten situations, and they think that is
Entonces, al
normal.
primer día
So the first day,
hay un letrero en el asfalto.
there's a
¿Y
wall
qué hacemos?
on the road, and what do we say?
Tapémosla.
We just
Nos hacemos,
we just
el
go to
segundo
the
día,
side.
el
We
agujerito
drive
se
around the
separa,
side.
se
The
desliza
next time,
este agujerito
the
se convierte
hole,
en un cráter. ¿Y qué
it
hacemos?
becomes like almost like a crate.
Empezamos
And
a bajar velocidad.
then we slow down,
Después de bajar velocidad,
and after we slow down,
cogemos y salimos de
we
ahí.
try to
Y
maneuver
cuando
around it,
se
and
acabó
then
el
it's so
engranaje que
big
dio la
that
suspensión del
it
vehículo,
now the
se
shocks in my
quebró,
vehicle are broken, and
pero
we
era un agujerito,
complain.
ahora se
That which
convirtió en
became
un cráter
that
en la
was a
carretera
little hole
porque
became a
nos
crate
acostumbramos a
in the on
bajarlo.
the road, and we
Y
get
vea,
used to it.
decimos,
And as a church, we say,
qué difícil está esto.
wow, the situation is really difficult.
Cuando yo trabajaba como líder de ministerios de
When I
compasión en
used to
América del Sur,
work
en mi primera
in
asignación
compassionate
misionera,
ministries in South America, in my
tuvimos allá
first
con estudiantes del
missionary
seminario,
assignment, we did a workshop with
allá en
the
el taller
students
nuestro,
of the
¿cuáles son los
seminaries.
problemas
And the
sociales de la
workshop was,
comunidad?
what was the
Teníamos una
social
cámara
problems in the community? We
y
had a
le
camera,
preguntábamos a las
and we
personas
would
adultas,
ask people to
¿cuáles son los
Christian,
problemas que hay?
what are the problems that we
Drogadicción,
had?
drogadicción,
Well, drug
pobreza,
addiction,
corrupción,
poverty, prostitution,
corrupción, todos los
corruption,
problemas, ¿verdad?
all the problems.
Como cristianos hicimos una
As
lista de todos
Christians,
esos problemas.
we
Después,
made
mi
a
segunda pregunta era,
list because we are good at
¿qué ha hecho
identifying
su
problems. And
congregación
then we
para
ask, what
resolver
did you
esos
do? What did
problemas?
your congregation do
¿Saben
to
qué?
solve those problems? You know what happened?
98 de 100
98 out of 100, they would be like, Well, that's a government's role. Well, we haven't thought about it. Well, talk to the pastor. So what Nehemiah did is that he told the people, "Hey, team, we have a goal, but I will not play the game. It is the team. We have an objective. Here's the issue." And when they own the situation, they he said, "Let us rebuild our walls." And I love it. I love it what it says in the second part of the verse, and it says, "And they began this good work." So with the team, you can rebuild all the walls in our Jerusalem. Individually, we have passion, vision, and purpose. But without a team, we cannot achieve it. When we have a team, together, we can face opposition together. So in verse 19, but when Sambalat, the Horonite, Tobiah, and the Ammonite official, and Gesem, the Arab, heard about it, they mocked and ridiculed us. "What is this you are doing?" they asked. And I answered by them by saying, "The God of heaven will give us success." My brother and sister, when you're a leader serving God, you don't get into your head that you're the best thing that has ever happened to humanity. You are humble enough to say, "This is from God." But listen, the second part. This is beautiful what Jeremiah says. Jeremiah had the vision, the passion. Jeremiah had a purpose. He verified the situation, but because he shared the vision in such a way that they own it, see what in verse 20, the secret of his work, the secret was this: one, to recognize that it was God. He made us and not we made ourselves. We are his people, his sheep. The work is God's. God is the one that helps. And secondly, see what Nehemiah says. We, we, his servants, have decided. We, we were watching the Olympics this week, and a team was playing another. And as Guatemalans, we don't have teams in the Olympics. Then, as good Latin Americans, we cheer the one that is well known. So we got really excited watching this team. Two teams were playing, and they tied. And I don't know if they win. It was the final of the volleyball, and she said, "At least we're winning. We are winning." I asked her, "Well, are you playing?" "No, but since we were part of this culture, and we were part of we live in Eurasia, so we were part of this. So I am the one with the passion, the vision. I'm the one there are two things that make my work essential. Number one, I recognize that it comes from God. It is from God, by God, and for God. And then we, his servants, we are going to go. Not just me. We, under the Lord and the Lordship of God, we are going to do it. So, see, after the mission is completed, in that process, well, how beautiful it is that in the process, the formation process, Nehemiah starts the succession.
En el proceso,
In the process,
alguien por ahí está regañando al niño. No regañe al niño, hermana. En el proceso de completar la
In
obra,
the process of completing the work, Nehemiah starts the rebuilding. Uh, chap- chapter 7, 1 to 3.
cuando terminamos de reconstruir la muralla y colocar,
When we finished rebuilding the wall and we placed,
aquí hay ya delegación. Vamos a escuchar en la tarde algunos, digo, en la segunda hora algunos principios
we are going to hear more principles later on,
de sucesión, pero dice,
succession
delegando a los
principles, but they
porteros,
delegated gatekeepers, musicians, and Levites.
escogí a mi hermano
Eh,
Hananí,
I put in charge of Jerusalem my brother Hananini, along with Hananiah, the commander of the citadel.
jefe de la fortaleza, y les
He
dije,
was the chief of the,
estas son las instrucciones,
and these are the
las
instructions.
puertas de Jerusalén no deben abrirse antes de que el sol caliente, aunque haya gente que quiera entrar, la
Walls
tierra y la
cannot be open, even if it's hot and people can come in. And those who,
guardias para que
and
vigilaran
then I pick
esta decisión,
guards,
la
some
tomaron
at their posts and some near their own houses.
pero poco habitada.
It was the city is extended, but not many people.
Él empezó a pasarle la batuta a otros.
He was starting, passing, and turning the
Ustedes
work
se van a
over
dar
to
cuenta que en el
others.
capítulo,
You will see
en todo el libro de Nehemías,
that the
llegamos al punto
whole
de
book
Nehemías
of Nehemiah,
eventualmente regresa.
you'll see that Nehemiah eventually comes back.
Nehemías termina su trabajo,
Nehemiah finishes his work.
él termina su trabajo
He finishes
para el que
his
se le
work,
encomendó,
the work that was entrusted to him,
y él
and he
se retira de la escena.
he
Se
leaves the
retira de
scene.
la escena dejando,
He leaves the
dejando a
scene.
cargo del trabajo, del
They
gobierno,
put
de
in,
las
leaving
decisiones
behind
del
him
pueblo,
the,
de ese Jerusalén que
and
había
that
sido
Jerusalem that
reconstruido,
was
a las
rebuilt.
nuevas personas
He
que
left the
trabajaron
same
con él,
people that worked with
no
him,
para él,
not for him,
sino
that
con
work
él.
with him.
Esta es la cosa importante también,
So this is the
el
important part,
lenguaje del equipo.
the team language.
Los miembros del equipo no trabajan por
The
nosotros,
members of the team, they don't work for us.
trabajan con
They
nosotros.
work with us.
Luego, muy
So
importante, recuerden, empieza,
then, very
empieza con
important,
Dios
it
y
starts with
termina
God
con Dios.
and it finishes with
Todo
God.
un líder de equipo
And every
celebra
team
a
leader
Dios
and every
en
team leader
todo,
must celebrate God in everything.
en todo.
In everything.
En los capítulos 8, 9 y 10 vemos
In
cómo
the next
mientras
verses
habían
8, 9, 10,
reconstruido los muros, él dijo,
once
ahí están
the
sus cosas,
walls were rebuilt, they could have said, okay, very good, the work is done. They could have given a medal. And but see what he says. He calls as Ezra, and he calls him.
para que él junto
So
con
he,
Nehemías
along with
vengan y
Nehemiah,
restauren el
they
nombre de
would
Dios,
come
porque
and
la
restore
muralla,
God's name,
los
because this is the
muros de
truth.
Jerusalén
The wall
fueron
of Jerusalem were
destruidos por el
destroyed
carácter del
because the
corazón del
character,
pueblo
the
de Dios
heart
estaba
of the people
corrompido.
was corrupted.
El trabajo del líder del equipo es
The heart of
establecer
the
el
team
reino de Dios,
leader is to establish
celebrando el nombre de Dios.
God's
No
kingdom,
se trata
celebrate
de que
God's
el líder
name. It is
del
not
equipo
about you as a
es el
leader,
que va a ser
as a
celebrado.
team leader, that you will be celebrated because we're so good.
Alguien preguntó cuál es el punto de
What is the purpose of 4 and 5?
el mismo punto de
Is the
la
same point
delegación.
to delegate,
No solo
delegation,
7, 1, 10,
not only 7 to 1. I'm going to go back because they're asking.
pasó la batuta
He passed the baton
y luego celebró a Dios.
and then he celebrated God.
Ahora, ¿qué lecciones podemos nosotros?
What lessons?
Déjeme compartirle unas lecciones
Let me
personales
let
ahora
me
que
share
empiece a
with you
compartir
some personal lessons. Now that I
experimentales
have shared
estas
this
lecciones de
lessons, when
Hay
we
algunas cosas
share
que siendo líder y
lessons about
he
Nehemiah,
aprendido que son
as
muy
a
importantes en el
member
trabajo en
and
equipo en el reino de Dios.
as a team member, and also as a team leader, I've learned
La
a few
primera
things
cosa
about
que he
God.
aprendido
The first thing that I've learned
es que construir equipo
is that
no es lo
building
mismo que
team is
liderar.
not the same as team leading.
Ahí son dos cosas diferentes.
Those are two different
Hay
things.
veces, hay ocasiones en que
Sometimes
usted como,
you,
como ministro,
as a minister, you as a servant, you as a member of a team, you you will be given a role to facilitate the organization because you have the gifts to summon to you have this the power to summon others, to put together others. But sometimes the Lord calls you to put together the team, and He puts somebody else to lead it. That is okay because team building is not the same as team leading. Those are two separate things. Another lesson that I have learned is not the same to be a team leader than to be a team member. I'm going to give you a personal testimony. For about 20 years of ministry, the Lord, because of my formation as an architect and as a planner and my doctorate in leadership, for many years, it was normal for me to put together teams and lead them so the teams would be high efficiency teams, high quality teams in the Lord. But I realized that in teaching in the doctoral program in in the Philippines, as I was teaching the subject of team leadership, I found a question that was given to students. And the question was, are you better team member or a team leader? And I used to think if you are a good team leader, then you can be a good team member. But I discovered that I was better at putting together teams. But when I was part of a team, I was a team member. I was uncomfortable because I was used to being a team leader, not a team member. In His mercy, in His goodness, the Lord decided that He was going to teach me to be a team member by putting me in the board of general superintendents. In the board of general superintendents, I am one of six. There's not one above another. I'm one of six. My vote is one vote. My opinion is one opinion. And all of us, we are equal. There's a seventh general superintendent. The seventh general superintendent is called consensus. The consensus uh, led by the Holy Spirit. Mm, as a team member, I've learned that I've had to leave some things that are very Gustavo's thing for the good of the team. And I've learned that it's not the same to be a team member than to be a team leader. There are people who are more comfortable leading teams, but when we have to be a team member, then we don't feel comfortable. Some of us feel more comfortable to be team members, but when we are team leaders, then we find we paralyze ourselves. That's where we help the Lord helps us to complement each other because being a good team member doesn't translate into being a good team director. We've learned that the best soccer player are not the best coaches. The best basketball players are not the best coaches. What we've learned is that the best coaches are those people who know how to lead teams. It's good to be a team member. It's not the all team leaders are not good team members. So, what lessons have you learned in your journey as a leader? We're going to divide ourselves in groups at this moment. Is it possible? Uh, our tech team, so I can drink some water and I can have a break. I would like for us to divide ourselves in groups. We have them as in language, divided in language. And Dr. Crocker, as you said, we were not going to use groups. We didn't ask them to identify themselves. But if you give us a few minutes, then we can do it. Let us continue. So this is the question. While they prepare this, um, make this, make yourself this question. Ask yourself this question: what lessons have you learned in team leadership that you would like to share with others? I have shared my own. As far as team leadership, I learned what is the difference between team leader and being a team member. What lessons have you learned that you can share with others in your team leadership journey? So let us go to the next chapter. Johnny says, if you want to have if you want to have the best team, then have the best in your team. That is a good concept. It is questionable because the teams that the Lord formed, he formed them with the worst. He didn't get the best. He didn't get the most educated. He chose fragile vessels. I heard my brother Tito Ayala preach a message when I went to his church, and that became a magisterial class. Tito, I give you credit. I gave a magisterial class on how an effective leader can transform common people into a effective team and a transformative team, and the story of how the King David transformed 400 people fall with debt. They were bitter and they were losers. He made them a team from 600 to a team of 600 victorious warriors. So, so not the best leader not always will get the best people. The next part of the workshop is how could you leader a team with common people to achieve extraordinary results for the kingdom. So let us continue. So the next part, I'm going to give you some tips that we have learned in the practice on how to lead teams in effectiveness and succession. Why are teams important? Because generally a team accomplishes far more than even the sum of all individuals. That we call synergy. Synergy in energy, we say 1 + 1 equals 2, but a team creates synergy. Synergy is 1 + 1 equals 3. What do you mean? Yeah, because when we work as a team, you remember what I said in the board of general superintendents, we are a team of 6 general superintendents, but in reality, there's 7 of us, 6 general superintendents that individually we make decisions, the thought and the way of seeing things of each one of us individually is not superior to the 6 together think, and the 6 together elevate ourselves. The Holy Spirit elevates the traits, the thoughts of all 6, and he puts them together in becoming a 7th, and that's the symbol of synergy. Ecclesiastes, 2 are better than 1 because the 1 falls, they raise again. 2 are better than 1 because 1 is cold, the other will warm it. But a 3-chord string, no one can break it. As I said to you, working as a team helps for ordinary people to achieve extraordinary results. See what The Pharisees say in Acts 4:13, when they saw that these were men with no education, they were people from the common, ordinary, they were amazed by the results they had. And they could see that they were part of Jesus's team. See what Jesus did. Ordinary people, fishers, farmers, sinners. The Lord uses those fragile vessels. He puts them together as a team. He strengthens them as a team, and he gives to them the authority in the kingdom, and he empowers them. I love what my brother Haroldo Neves used to tell me when we visited the barrio and in Rio de Janeiro. He said, we're going to build the biggest the hospital. And he said, brother, go ahead and do it. He said, no, I'm not asking you permission. I'm telling you. You know why I'm telling you? Because Jesus and I, we are the majority. When we work as a team with the Holy Spirit, in harmony with the Holy Spirit helps ordinary people to achieve extraordinary results. And as I told you, it all starts when the sense of purpose is in the center of the team. A team is successful when there is a sense of purpose. We have learned throughout the years that there are teams that are formed just for team's sake. You know that many of our churches in Latin America, we say, where's that person? And there just becomes followers, and they become followers and of peoples and practices and wins of this and wins of that, and we are filled with wins without a purpose. A successful team is a team that has a sense of purpose. A leader is known by the team that he or she puts together. And this is something that I learned. This is a lesson that I learned from one of my mentors. He told me weak leaders clone themselves. Is in other words, weak leaders, they find people like them that for everything they say yes, that they walk with like them, that they speak like them. In other words, they clone themselves. You can identify a weak leader based on the people that he or she surrounds themselves with. A weak leader, he surrounds himself with people like them, whereas a strong leader builds the teams to ensure succession. See the difference? A weak leader, he or she clones themselves. They they put people similar to them. Everything that they say is fine, and they're like puppets. These are weak leaders. Weak leaders put together puppets. So when the leader, the weak leader leaves, the puppets fall and nothing stays behind. But a strong leader puts together a team to make sure that there is succession beyond himself or herself, to ensure that there is succession. Jesus built a team, and he built them from day one. From day one, and he gave them the authority, and gave them the authority and the power, and he gave them the commandment to continue moving forward with the vision. And he said it very clear: all authority has been given to you. In other words, he would say, if I wanted to, I would have stayed here. I could stay here. I have all authority. I have all the power. You broke my screen. All right, that's fine. The Lord said, I have all power, and because I have all power, I can do it all. But let me tell you, even though I have all authority, I am telling you, go, and wherever you go, build the kingdom. Go and make disciples. Go and make disciples. Go. That is important because he he didn't just left left. He didn't just leave and left it as that. He left the Holy Spirit, and he gave us the authority to continue building his kingdom. All right. I don't know if there are any questions at this moment. And if you have questions, write them on the chat. We are ready, Dr. Crocker, for the groups whenever you want. And you tell us how long. There is a question from our brother Eli, how to reconcile the leadership succession in our government in the church. That is the question that will you are going to you're going too far too fast, brother Eli. I have that in the next segment. So I'm not going to ignore the host. Please erase the this marker. If you are too excited of what I am saying, please don't write anything in the screen, please. And we're going to divide in groups so that you can share the lessons that you have learned. 5 minutes in groups. You're going to share, and please, in groups, please don't leave. This is when we're going to start. I'm just giving you a little bit in pieces of what a leader does, but in the next session we're going to tell you how to build a team, how to build them in a practical way, the elements, the successful elements of the team. And we're going to speak also about personalities to lead effectively. So let us go to team